I am very grateful to be here this morning with you. I take this responsibility seriously. I realize that I can say whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. And if you don't like it, you will tell Iona, don't ever have him back again. So I've got free reign this morning. There's one concern that I have. I forgot my watch. And there is nothing worse than someone who just goes on and on and on. Because I don't know. Thank you, Randy. I don't even know how long I should be speaking for. Generally, I guess within the UCC tradition, it's 12 minutes to 17, 20, you're really pushing it, right? And some of you have watches, and you will be watching to see how long I'm going. So I'm taking a look here. And then again, it's like, how long does this service last? I don't know. I didn't ask Iona that either. There's a lot of things I didn't ask, like, what should I wear? And there goes my button. So the challenge for me, whenever I speak, and whether you are my congregation, or I visit this congregation or that congregation, I have no idea who you are. I have no inkling as to why you're even here this morning, why you choose this time to come here. And there's nothing worse and nothing more challenging than someone who stands up here to give a message, a sermon, that may not apply to you because you've come here for a reason. You've come here to look for something for your spirit, for your soul. And I don't want to get in the way of that. And if there was a wish that I had or a prayer, it would be to take this and to translate it into here. Because if that really happened this morning, we would walk out of here different than when we walked in. We would feel so energized, like we've taken one of those 24-hour, or it's the 5-hour energy drinks that is now, you can get double the dose or triple the dose. It's like we would just be on steroids. It's like our spirit, our countenance, in spite of what we carry, we would just come out of here glowing. So maybe I should be like the Quakers when they meet on a Sunday. Maybe I should just sit down and I'll watch for the next, I'm down to 12 minutes now. We'll just sit here. And I'll let God do God's thing in you. But then you'd probably say, well, so why did we have him? We didn't need him. We could have just put that on the screen. You have probably heard this somewhere. You've seen it somewhere. It says peace. It does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, trouble, or hard work. It means to be in the midst of those things and still be calm in your heart. Wait in silence. How do you have peace when someone's life will soon be over, far too soon, because of cancer? How do you find stillness and calm and peace when a loved one is no longer there? and the voice is gone, and their presence is absent. How do the hundreds and thousands of people seeking asylum, running away from violence, from their home, from all that they know and is familiar, how do they find a sense of peace and safety? God is my rock. God is my salvation. God is my fortress. It is this psalm that I was drawn to when I was the chaplain at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida, just like Rady's. It is this psalm that when I left the family and the child and went back by myself, I had to find something for my spirit and my soul. Because I was watching parents say goodbye to their child. And having 5 children, and even if I didn't have children, my heart was broken. And I only could imagine the depth of their grief. And the anger that I felt, like, this is just not fair. It's not even my child. And I watched this year after year after year. Not to mention the children who fell and their life was changed, who drowned and their life was ended, who had a disease they were born with. It's just the struggle, the handicaps. It's like, oh my goodness, it's overwhelming. These poor little children. And then you watch the incredible human beings called nurses, doctors, and therapists who day after day, this is their world. Peace, comfort, calm. How in the world do you find that? Well, I found this. And I said, God alone, I'm not going to get it anywhere. A drink's not going to do it for me. Therapy will help. But I go to bed alone with my wife. I have those moments of quiet. I need something inside here that's going to wrap itself around my spirit and my soul and my heart and my mind. So God is my rock and my fortress. What an amazing thing. Can you imagine if each one of these children embraced that? So as they grow up and they have to face adolescence, they have to go to junior high, they have to deal with high school, then they have to choose and make choices that are incredible, and then they have to choose. It's like if they, deep inside their spirit and soul, had a God who was the one who protected them, who kept them safe in spite of everything that swirls about them. God alone. I am sure that is what Elie Wiesel had when he was in a concentration camp. And as his family was taken from him, and he watched the incredible atrocities and experienced humanity at its absolute worst and watched evil at its best. And yet that man had this. In the stillness, alone, there is a God who became for that person a rock and a fortress and salvation. I am sure Nelson Mandela had it, locked in a prison. It was God in that quietness, in that stillness, who was his rock. And then I think about this incredible character called David, who wrote those words. So this was a talented individual. Would you agree? I mean, he's a king, which really doesn't mean much. But he was also a poet. So he had that creative, artsy side to him. And he was a musician. Apparently a pretty good one. So he had leadership skills. He had the creative side to him. He was a shepherd. Tells you something about the kind of person he had to be a shepherd. Those long, quiet nights. But everything that this man had came to a screeching halt. Because what did he do? He made a choice, like we do. And it was a bad choice. It was a bad choice to take another man's wife and sleep with her. It was a bad choice to call the husband who's fighting for your army off the front line and try to fix it so that it looks like he slept with her, she got pregnant because of him and not because of me. Now he's really in trouble when he finds out she's pregnant. So he sends the husband back to the front line and tells the other officer, when he gets there, I want you to all pull back and sort of just leave him out there so they'll be killed. I like David. Someone, after I talked about David, said, I don't like David. I think he's a creep. Anyone who would do that to his wife, and David was married, anyone who would do that to another woman, to force yourself upon another woman, anyone who would do that to another man and be responsible for taking his life, I don't like that person. And yes, I know we're supposed to forgive, but I can't forgive David. And then you know the story about David. He was a depressed man, in spite of all the riches, in spite of all that he had as a human being, his creativity, his potential. He had a family that was falling apart. Well, duh. I mean, his son Absalom wanted to kill him. Not a happy place to be. He had a previous king who wanted to kill him. Not a good place to find yourself. David needed a safe place. And where did he find the safe place? He found it in a cave, which is probably why he said, God's my rock. Literally, here's a king who's hiding in a cave, in a rock. Because he's got enemies now who are chasing after him, who want to take his life. David got really messed up. And David wrote some incredible, incredible music, incredible psalms, incredible words, things that drew my heart when I needed it. It's difficult to forgive. But this man, when you read some of those Psalms, Psalm 32 and Psalm 51, he did some incredible agonizing and soul-searching. He went to the deepest, deepest place in terms of being depressed. And he asked for forgiveness. You can't bring back a life that you violated. You can't bring back a life that you're responsible for taking. But somehow you can, in that moment, find forgiveness. Yes, there are consequences, and he lived his life out suffering those consequences. But we do the best we can when we screw up, when we make mistakes. And it is God who is beyond our imagination in terms of forgiveness, who is beyond our understanding in terms of unconditional love. It is God who embraces us. It is God who walks with us when we think we are walking alone. It is God who takes us as we transition from this life to the next life. It is God who is there in the midst of the noise and the trouble and the chaos and the despair and the anger and says, I will give you a calm and a peace. How many times in those verses did you hear when Randy read to us where it said, my? My. David said, it doesn't matter about all that other stuff. It's what I need right now from God. And he found new hope. And he found salvation again from messing up and screwing up his life and the lives of other people. He found a place to stand on that would not change. And so my hope and my wish is that that would become for us what we need in our lives, not knowing tomorrow, living today. God has been for you. God will always be a safe place. May it be so. Amen.